It's the champ, Shannon the Cannon, two-time heavyweight champion of the world. And you're watching Sports Icons. Subscribe. Let's go, champ. Let's go, champ. Let's go, champ. Champ.
Okay, so a little bit of breaking news for you. As of 45 minutes ago, it was reported by ESPN that Andy Ruiz Jr. will in fact not be fighting Tyrone Spong on Triller, but will in fact be fighting Luis Ortiz next. The reason is because he had already signed a contract previously to fight Luis Ortiz, and apparently that is being upheld. Now, if you're Andy Ruiz Jr., if you know that you've got a contract to fight, say, Luis Ortiz, why would you then go and sign a contract to go fight Tyrone Spong? That doesn't make any kind of sense to me. If it's the other way around, I can kind of understand it. But listen, does that mean for definite that he's going to be fighting Luis Ortiz? No, because again, it depends on how much money was he guaranteed to fight Luis Ortiz, how much money was Luis Ortiz guaranteed to fight Andy Ruiz Jr., how much money is Andy Ruiz Jr. going to get from Triller to fight Tyrone Spong. Now, you would imagine the money that he was going to get to fight Tyrone Spong will be a hell of a lot more because Triller are paying well over the odds. So he could just say, you know what, just give Ortiz some compensation. I'm going to fight Spong anyway. That is a possibility, but currently there is a contract between Andy Ruiz Jr. and Luis Ortiz. Now, is Al Haymon going to uphold that one? You would imagine he probably will, because he needs those kind of fights. And to be honest with you, this is the kind of fight that boxing fans need, especially in America, because American boxing, listen, it sounds a little bit critical, and I don't mean it to be, but it's not what it was. In the heavyweight division, you need this kind of fight. This is a crossroads fight between Andy Ruiz Jr. and Luis Ortiz. The loser of that fight, where do they go? Andy Ruiz Jr., he could probably bounce back. Ortiz, not so much. I think we can say that one. But hopefully from a fan's perspective, and of course, if you're over there in America as well, especially if you're a PBC fan as well, that's the kind of fight that you need. You need that fight to be done and dusted so you can move on. There are other fights out there. So if Andy Ruiz Jr. was to defeat Luis Ortiz, then the natural progression from that one would be Deontay Wilder. The only catch with that one, for example, would be if Luis Ortiz defeats Andy Ruiz Jr., do you really want to see Wilder and Ortiz for a third time? No, probably not. So I would imagine that Al Haymon would probably want Andy Ruiz Jr. to win, but at the same time, if Andy Ruiz Jr. is one of these kind of guys who's quite clearly not loyal to the PBC, that may well bite him. It may actually bite him. Don't be surprised if there's some kind of, if it goes to points and there's some kind of shady decision, because Andy Ruiz Jr. is not loyal to the PBC. He's just shown that he's not loyal, isn't he? Unless, of course, he's playing a game here. Who knows? Who knows if he's playing a game with Al Haymon, he's playing the game with the PBC, if he's playing some kind of game with Luis Ortiz. We really don't know. But again, go back to the original point. This is business, ultimately. Andy Ruiz Jr., he is a mercenary, if you like, for making money. And there's no reason why he shouldn't be. It's prize fighting. Of course it is. So if he's going to be getting paid over the odds to be fighting Tyrone Spong in a, what should be in theory, a easier fight, just pay Luis Ortiz a compensation. So it's still to be decided, I suppose. Yes, Andy Ruiz Jr. is currently being forced to uphold his contract obligations with Luis Ortiz, but does that mean that he's going to fight him? Hopefully. From a fan's perspective, hopefully. But nothing in boxing is ever guaranteed now, is it? Anyway, drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video.